Howdy guys, we're up here on Mohan today going to do the review of the Electra Glide Standard. This is a very unique motorcycle in the Harley-Davidson lineup. The reason we're actually doing this for you guys today is because this is probably the best platform for customization of any touring bike that Harley has got out right now. And the reason I say that is because this is kind of a stripped down model. No radio, no touchscreen display, no speakers. This has got the smaller engine in it, but it's got the Stage 1 kit on it. And if you're gonna upgrade, if you're gonna do a lot of customization to your touring bike, this is probably the best platform to start from. So for customization stuff on this bike, what can you do to build it up to be super awesome? Well, we've already got the Stage 1 kit on here, like we said. Screaming Eagle slip-on pipes sound really good. You're gonna hear that on the ride. The air filter and the fuel tuning, that's Stage 1. To move up to the next one, we're going to throw a cam in there. You can go torque cam or high RPM power cam, just depending on how you like to ride. After that, you got some big bore pistons, jugs we can throw on there as Stage 3 to bump up that displacement a little bit. No replacement for displacement. That's the old saying in the motorsports world. And then if we want to go all out, we could go Stage 4 and add the head work to that as well. As far as dashboard goes, you got all the options you want as far as customizing the speakers, the actual touch screen, the radio. You could put something much higher quality than is offered from the factory in here if that's what you're wanting to do. And we've even seen a lot of guys put amplifiers and speakers and subwoofers back in the saddlebags as well. So that is always an option. But this is the platform you really want to start with if you're going to do a lot of customization. You're not wasting your money on things that you're going to pull off and throw in a closet or a box anyway. So if you're looking to build up the biggest, baddest touring bike in the world, this is where you want to start. Alright, so like I said, this is the smaller engine of the touring models. This is the 107 cubic inch. We got the Stage 1 kit on here, which has got the Screaming Eagle air filter, slip-on pipe, and fuel tuning. And to be honest with you, this motorcycle, even though it's a lot heavier than the Fat Bob that we reviewed last, with this Stage 1 kit on the smaller motor, it moves forward at about the same pace. They've got a close amount of torque, relatively similar horsepower, so getting this thing down the road is really easy. It's a super smooth engine, and without a doubt, the 107 is easier to handle than the 114. It is a little less jumpy at low revs, and it's a lot smoother and wants to rev a little bit higher. So that's something I'll talk about while we're riding as well. Again, great platform for customization. If you want to build up a really awesome touring bike, this is going to be the place to start. Solo seat, you still got the saddlebags, basic suspension front and rear. Really good platform to build up from. So let's get out there, let's ride this thing, let's see what it'll do on these roads, and see what road race guy can make it do. All right, Marina Del Rey. A little cloudy out today, but that's all right. Sunday afternoon in the marina. There's Bartell's Harley-Davidson. That's our home base. What's up, everybody? So first impressions on this guy, Electra Glide Standard. This one's got 5 miles on it. We got a Stage 1 kit in this bike. So it's got a little bit more power than standard, which is cool. This is the 107 with the Stage 1. So we're going to see how this thing does once we get out of the city here up in the mountains. But before we do that, let's see how she does getting through traffic. This bike's a little bit bigger than our last review of the Fat Bob. Obviously bigger motorcycle, wider with the saddlebags and all. This thing comes in right around 800 pounds, fully loaded, ready to ride. Not fully loaded, but fully fueled and fluided, ready to go down the road, right about 800 pounds. So it's a little bit bigger than what I'm used to, being road race guy, obviously. So 107 is feeling pretty good. It's really easy to control. It's a little bit less responsive than the 114, and that's actually in a good way. A little bit easier to keep smooth while you're cutting through traffic. But it's got all the pickup you need, especially with this Stage 1 kit in it. But again, throttle response is a little more user-friendly, I would say, with this 107 as opposed to the 114. Not quite as much brutal torque off the bottom, but it's got plenty of power. Unlike the Fat Bob, bars are a little bit wider on these Ultra Glides, so I don't have to move my elbows much at all to get a good shot of what's behind me here in traffic. Super convenient in that respect. Same style of mirrors as we had on the Fat Bob, same shape and everything, but much more practical because they're a little bit wider on the bars, or the bars are a little bit wider, so the mirrors are spread out a little bit farther, and I can get a really good shot of what's going on behind me. First gear is easy to control this engine and this chassis with this 107. Again, fuel injection is pretty much spot on even with this 107 kit, stage 1 kit. It's easy to put this bike where you want to put it. Critical for getting around LA, especially for inexperienced or less experienced riders. I think this is going to be a great choice. Big bump there in the road, but believe it or not, it's not too hard to get your butt out of the seat on this Electra Glide. I can't quite believe it, but it's the truth. This seat is more maneuverable than the Fat Bob seat. It doesn't quite hold you in that spot as rigidly as some other Harley seats do. So I like that. You can kind of move around on it a little bit, scoot from side to side. That really helps with low speed handling. Again, splitting traffic on these touring bikes, not nearly as much fun as anything else because you got all these bags to worry about. So it takes away a lot of the efficiency of a motorcycle here in LA. Front brakes on this guy, a little bit numb feeling. I wish they had a little more bite to them. But there's a lot of weight that they're working with here, so you can't fault them too much. Suspension seems to hold it up pretty well. I'm not getting any diving under heavy braking. But I do wish that those calipers had a little more bite to them. Without a doubt, 8 miles on this thing. The brake pads are not worn in yet, so we'll see how that evolves as the day goes on. You guys noticed the Ducati that just rolled past lane splitting. That is a luxury I cannot take advantage of right now because this motorcycle is just a little too wide. So this thing is really smooth at cruising speed here. I'm rolling about 30 miles an hour right now up the PCH in this traffic. This is a bumpy stretch of road. I can feel those bumps with this motorcycle, but they're not irritating me at all. I want to feel the texture of this road. That's really important. That feedback helps me know how much traction is available and the condition that I'm dealing with. So I really like getting that feedback. This has the new style fork with the new valves in it, the bending circle valves. It's not a big piston fork or anything like that, a la Livewire, but it is a pretty good setup for what it is. These touring bikes, people don't realize how well they handle. I think Harley devoted a lot of their R&D budget 20 years ago into making these things competitive with the Goldwing, and without a doubt, I've ridden a lot of Goldwings. All the Harley touring bikes are really equally as good. They just have their own character, their own way about them. They're a little different, and if you're willing to accept that difference, that character, then they're really, really good bikes. Short windscreen on this Electra Glide. This is an aftermarket Harley-Davidson manufactured piece. Takes the windshield down just a little bit. I think it looks cooler. It's tinted. I feel very little wind on my body at this point. Obviously, my legs are exposed. We don't have the lower fairings on this bike, but I've got on leather, so no problem there. But upper body, I feel a little wind below the neck. I'm getting a little bit right below the helmet, but I'm not getting any buffeting. I've not reached highway speeds as of yet on this motorcycle, but we're about to find out about that in just a minute. And there is a cool purple Lamborghini or a McLaren or something, Ferrari, I don't know. One thing I've always noticed with the Harley touring bikes,
particularly, and I think this is just some random characteristic, is that when you lean these things over, it seems like you're really leaning the bike over a ton because of this fairing on top. I think that's the way that it acts on your perception. Obviously, I know I'm not carrying 80 degrees of lean angle or something, but man, it sure does seem like any turn you make on these, you're leaning the thing over like 40 degrees. I know, again, it's not the case, but that is a characteristic of these Harleys with the big fairings on it, the Batwing or the Road Glide with the stationary fairing. Just kind of, that's the sensation that they give you. Again, not necessarily based on reality, it's just what you kind of perceive. Oh, rolling up the mountainside here on this Electra Glide Standard. You can swing this sucker back and forth pretty easy. I'm interested to see what kind of ground clearance I'm going to have up here. I'm interested to see what kind of grip I'm going to get out of this thing. These are Dunlop touring tires on it, so they're not going to be as outright sticky as anything I'm normally used to. So we're going to ease into this. Again, this seat, ironically enough, is a little more sport friendly than on our last review of the Fat Bob. It's letting me move around on this bike a lot more than I could on the Fat Bob. Alright, let's see how these front brakes perform right here. Yeah, there we go, getting a little bite out of them. That's good. Downshift, put it into this corner. Super smooth. Accelerator feels good. Again, it's really easy to control. This is a tight turn here to the right. We'll watch for some gravel. We'll put this sucker in here, lay it on over, scrape that floorboard. No drama whatsoever. I like that. Little floorboard scrapey. Right on up the hill. Good power. Man, this 107 feels almost as strong as that 114 with this stage 1 with another 100 pounds on top of it. That's really impressive. Now notice I'm not scraping these floorboards in every single corner because I'm using a lot of body positioning to reduce the lean angles I'm having to carry right at the apex. Listen to that. Wow. I can't use all of the road like I can on the Fat Bob because honestly I don't want to hang this saddlebag off the edge and clip a damn mile marker or something. Great sound out of this motor, and without a doubt throttle response is better than on the stock 114. I'm not getting as much power. There's a little downshifty there. Let's hang it in this sucker. Lots of scraping going on. Woo, that's fun. Now when I get on the gas going up this hill, my butt scoots back in the seat, but the seat kind of cups me a little bit and holds me in there. I'm not sliding off the back of it. I like that. I appreciate it. I do have to use some arms for my upper body movement. I don't like that. My legs are compromised because they're out in front of me, just like with any Harley. But I'm able to manage it pretty good. This thing, the controls with the floorboards, not as far forward as the Fat Bob. Listen, woo! So we've been through our tight corners. We're getting into some intermediate degreed corners right here. Nice and smooth. I'm getting some bump feedback through the chassis, through my butt, through the forks. Let's see how she lays into this one. Scoot my little self over here. We got some water road. We're going to stand her up, set her down, put it in here. Shocks could use a little more compliance. Front end is not bad. Now, nobody that has an Electra Glide Standard is going to be doing downhill bombs on one of these heavily raced roads out here in California, but this is a great test for how this motorcycle is going to do day to day. This is a bumpy road. You can hear it in my voice. Compliance on this chassis is good. I think the suspension could do a little bit better. A downshift brake into this turn is much better than just braking and letting the bike feed off its RPMs. We want to have that engine hold us back just a little bit. Just got one wheel off the ground there coming over one of those bumps, and like I've been saying, it was the rear wheel not touching the ground there because the shock just not quite able to keep up with what I'm doing with this thing right now. And that's not to say that it's a bad shock or bad shocks, but they're just not quite up to dealing with road race guy on a Sunday morning. It's a cool Lotus in front of them. Eclat, Lotus Eclat. World champion, 73. It's a cool car. I don't know anything about it, but it looks really neat. Alright, here we go into some sweeping turns, scooting that butt off the seat. Dude, right butt cheek, or left butt cheek right off the seat and right into this corner. Floorboard's banging the ground, but I feel really good. I am so surprised that the seat on this bike is enabling me to do sport bike things. This is cool. Way to go, seat. Again, these switchbacks like this, I have to think a lot about it. Don't get me wrong. It's much more work than on a sport bike. Let's see how U-turn is on this big motorcycle. Look at that. U-turn, no problem. Put me right up here where I want to be. Big old bike. Easily handled. Alright, let's give it some juice. Clutchless upshifts are seamless. Wow, that was really nice. Never a dull day here in Southern California, everybody. It's just beautiful. There's lots of beautiful places in the world, but this is one of the most beautiful places you will ever be and ever be able to ride a motorcycle. Now you can bump this up to the 126, 127, whatever that kit is, without removing the engine from the frame. You can just drop some new cylinder heads on there and get some more torque and power. Or you can go big and just drop the new 131 cubic inch crate engine into this bad boy. For some reason, I find myself really trail braking this bike into every turn. It just wants that steering angle steepened up a little bit to do what I want it to do. It seems like it really is beneficial, so I've just found myself just using a lot of trail braking very lightly with that front brake. This is John Sosby. This has been Road Race Guy Reviews Harleys Electra Glide Standard Edition. If you guys want to talk motorcycles, come on down to Bartell's Harley-Davidson, 4141 Lincoln Boulevard, Marina Del Rey. I'll give you my honest opinion about any motorcycle, Harley-Davidson or any other brand. I own all kinds of bikes. I don't care what the gas tank says. I only care about how it goes down the road. I love riding, so come by and talk to me about it. I'll give you honest information. Again, this is Road Race Guy Reviews Harleys, Electra Glide Standard Edition. I'm out of here, folks. Peace.